Look at you, buddy.
Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
That's right. Welcome to Soccer in 60. Of course, brought to you by SAC Health System. It's your friendly neighborhood scarf, J.R. Liebert, here with my buddy Tim Kolach, and we are super excited to take you all around the Southland in just about an hour. Everything from LAFC, LA Galaxy, your Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. What a week it has been. Tim, I don't know if you found your extra $10 billion to buy the Lakers, but it has certainly been a fun week in the Southland.
It definitely has, Scarf, my boy, man. I'm doing good this week. We've got sunny skies, a sunny disposition for Orange County, while Angel City took it on the chin, as did the G's. I don't think that I think that both are going in the right direction, buddy. And, you know, if I had a couple extra $1 billion creeping around and buy a team for a valuation of $10 billion, I'd bring you and the whole crew over at Soccer in 60 with me, buddy.
Tim, let's do it. We know Genie Bus still owns the Los Angeles Lasers trademarks. Maybe we can get something started with that for all of you OG soccer aficionados. And look, LAFC got to play against Chelsea this week in a match that matters, which is unbelievable. Just so many cool things going on. Of course, we're still coming down here as we are also an MASL show. We talk all about the Empire Strykers. We're still coming down from the incredible TST tournament. Philly's voice is still hoarse from calling 21 games. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and one of our favorite Empire Strykers. And luckily, Philly and I got to do a very short interview with the voice of LAFC and, honestly, soccer around the world for the last couple of decades, Max Bretos. And Tim, I know you know Max's voice and Max's personality really well. It was an electric interview.
Yeah, unbelievable what you guys did with Max. I'm so stoked that he came onto the show today. It's awesome to see. And, you know, being the surfer boy that I am growing up, man, you got to say we were stoked to have him on, man.
Yeah, Max is one of the bigger figures in the soccer world here in the United States, of course. Let's say hello to our friends at Omnitrans, because that's how we pay the bills. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans in partnership with the Empire Strykers. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Gear up for an unforgettable match day and ride with Omnitrans to the game. Look, it's not every day. Another day and another frustrating result, for the Galaxy. This one against St. Louis. As we were watching this, Tim, I thought they had the 3 points in the bag, and unfortunately, like their season has kind of unfolded, they just found another way to drop points.
Yeah, this one was brutal to give up those 3 points. They're still undefeated in their last two games, which big crowd noise. But the reality is this, you know, the 4-2-3-1 lineup that they put out there was doing their job. They were still getting beat a little bit on that, you know, that where the twos are. The fourth guy in the back line wasn't coming up purposely. But the thing is, Scarf, I mean, come on. You can't give this up. I mean, there was going to be 8-9 minutes of added time because it was hot out on the pitch. You know, it was pushing, 90 air temperature, 101, 102 on the field. But you can't let the guy that's already got 2 goals, you can't let him get a third goal. I mean, come on, man. I mean, what the Galaxy are doing this year is 180 from what they did last year. They would go into that second half and they would just dominate it. And now they're just not. They're getting smoked last minute of these games. They did it against LAFC. You know, they kind of came back from that goal. They were down, but you can't honestly tell me that you're going to leave a guy like Zhao all alone in the box to score his third goal. Give me a break, Scarf.
Yeah, look, they finally got the match from Gabriel Peck on the score sheet. He's played excellently for this club, giving everything he has. Obviously, look, we've talked about no Ricky Puig and how that has totally changed the makeup of this club. Marco Reus being on fire for his last 5, 6, 7 games. He looks like he's back to his old tricks. But when you have the lead going into stoppage time, and oh, by the way, you are fighting for, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, Rob would probably poo-poo all over it too, our resident Galaxy expert. But when you are still fighting for a playoff spot, to drop those 2 points, not just 2 points, but those 2 points where you have to go into St. Louis, which is a great soccer atmosphere, against one of the best keepers. Now, I know he's been hurt this season, but in Roman Berkey, and really only have, like you said, one guy to stop in Joao Klaus. For them to drop those 2 points in the way that they did, giving up a goal in the 5th minute of stoppage time so he can get his hattie. It was an unconscionable series of decisions that led to the Galaxy only taking a point away from home. And look, our producer Gunnar is asking it in the chat. I asked it to Rob after he wrote some stuff there in one of his show notes. Do the Galaxy at this point still have a realistic shot at talking playoffs?
Well, Scarf, I'm going to say the exact same thing that I said on Rob's show. No, they don't. They do not. They do not. When they were 10 games into the season, they were cooked. I mean, we've talked about it 100 different times, but the reality is this: to get into the playoffs this year, you're seriously going to need at least 43 points.
Right.
To get there, you're going to have to get another 10 wins, right? And you don't have it. You don't have 10 wins in the basket. We've got a little bit of a Ricky Puig update from an insider I've got, but he's not going to be able to come back and make enough of a difference towards the end of the season, because the ability of the Galaxy this year to give away games late has been impeccable. It's been unbelievable at how well they've done by not being able to win in games that they should absolutely win. I mean, you've watched a bunch of these games, Scarf, and the reality is this: they should have at least 7 wins. They should, just by and large, just because of the talent they have on the field. Yes, Paint Sill has had a quad, right? He missed a ton of games. He didn't get up to full speed, but now that he's up to full speed, 95%, the quad's still bugging him a little bit. You can see it. But the reality is they need to be winning these games, and they're not. They're falling on their head, Scarf.
Well, and the question comes to, and I know you've got some sources with some insider information on Ricky Puig, but the question is, why rush him back now at this point? Why is it worth 5 games to go in the season, let's say? Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but let's say 5 matches to go, 10 matches to go in the season. Even if you're still mathematically eligible for the playoffs, is it worth risking closing that window even further with Ricky Puig being hurt? And the question really remains then, you're getting vintage Marco Reus right now. How much longer can you get that? You've got your back line of aging players. How much longer can you continue to kick that can down the road? And is the window for a second championship? Because, look, they dominated the league last year. And this is coming from an LAFC supporter. They dominated the league last year and into the playoffs. Is the window closing? And do you even want to bring a guy like Ricky Puig back?
I think it's the same theory that I have on the playoffs. No. You're going to have to. You're going to have to, because here's the thing. What are the Galaxy in business for? Sell tickets, make money.
Yeah.
And to win, clearly, obviously, but it is a business. So what Puig is doing, he's been rehabbing really well. This is what I got this morning from my guy, is that he's rehabbing really well, and he's up on a Bosu ball, one of these ups, half a ball, right? And he's doing that.
What I'm shaped like here in the front. It's a Bosu.
Yeah, exactly. and he's not juggling, but people are throwing a ball. He's on the Bosu, keeping his balance, doing these things. And he's rehabbing really well. The injury that he has is anywhere from a 7 to 9 month rehab to get back to playing shape, to get out on the pitch. And the estimate is towards the end of August is where he's going to come back. So is he going to make his debut against Colorado, or are they going to bring him back a game or so early to play in a Leagues Cup game where it's a little lighter competition? Maybe he has a little better chance of getting into some game shape before he gets back into the MLS. That's the question.
I'd hate to see one of those guys from Liga MX try to earn their stripes with their team and take out a guy like Ricky Pooch early on in a match like that. You also mentioned, right, putting butts in seats, selling tickets. And we mentioned this a little bit on the last episode, but I think maybe some fans staying away, unfortunately, because the club hasn't said anything about all the recent unrest and protests and the ICE basically rounding up people in Los Angeles and staying silent are the LA Galaxy. And I know that that's kind of ruffled some feathers a little bit down there in Carson.
Yeah, I think if you look at it from both sides, do they have to make a statement? Do they? I mean, they're maybe not. I know that all the other teams have. LAFC has. Angel City has. Angel City has taken a step further, and when we bring in Nina Kay, she'll talk about this a little bit more. But I believe that everybody has a right to their own opinion, and even if you choose not to make a decision, you've still made a choice, right?
Yeah.
So I get it, I understand it, but it is ruffling a couple feathers in the LA community.
Yeah, look, the Galaxy supporters are pissed. You can hear it in the stands, and you can see it in the stands by a lot of them not being there. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the 101st meeting of the original California rivalry, right? The Cali Classico. That's right on the horizon for them as well. So, look, I think they've got a match first at Colorado, right, on June 25th.
Yep, they play next Wednesday at Colorado, and it's better than playing this weekend. Because if they played this weekend, it'd be 95 in Commerce City, and they would just die and melt, and it'd be brutal. Well, but 75 and rainy next Wednesday.
Yeah, and Tim, this is another one of those matches where they could go in and get a result, but they can't get results anymore. They have to be stacking threes, whether it's on the road or at home.
It's the only way that there's two things why they have to stack wins. One, they've got to salvage whatever season they have left. Right. And we've talked about getting a bunch of the young guys in and playing the young guys. But the reality is they need to start winning to get some of those butts back in those seats. Right. Yeah. Because without anything else going on, you and I are going to be able to go watch a game for $10, man.
That's for sure. And look, it's different, total different feel 13 miles up the road when you've got Galaxy. You're talking about, can they fight back to make a playoff spot? And yet here is LAFC traveling to Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium to take on Chelsea. And by the way, Max Bretos talked about that in his interview. It was excellent. Not all 2-0 losses are alike. And I have to say, from the international media, they really felt like LAFC held their own and stood their ground. If you listen to a lot of these MLS pundits out there or these American sports fans who write about how American clubs do against the English, it's as if they had never seen a soccer match before. But look, sometimes when we look at 2-0 losses, Tim, right, we try to put lipstick on a pig. This was a prize pig that we got to put lipstick on for sure. This 2-0 loss should actually help LAFC perform even better in the Club World Cup. An incredible effort against Chelsea.
I'm right there with you because this was a very well-played game by LAFC. The 2-0 scoreline, you can look at it just as a bystander and say, Chelsea, they didn't play that well and they still won 2-0. But if you really watch this game and dug into it, you're right. This is unlike most 2-0 games that anybody has ever watched. And for them to not get a couple of goals, it really was surprising because the over and under on this game was 3.5. Right. And so you knew that everybody was going to score, and to have it only be a 2-0 game, very surprising.
And to have your debut of Liam Delap in the match. If you're Chelsea, you're taking off 120 million pound worth players to bring on 90 million pound worth players against LAFC, who has a total worth of like 46 million pounds. It's unbelievable. But it was really fun to hear Max Bretos' take on all of it. I mean, look, to be able to listen to the Soccer OG talk about what it's like for LAFC to play Chelsea, and then, coming down the line in the Club World Cup, you've got ES Tunis, you've got Flamengo. It's silly season if you're an LAFC supporter, these pinch me moments where we're not planning to talk about FC Dallas or about Real Salt Lake. Right. We're planning to talk about one of the best teams in Brazil and Tunisia's best. It's absolutely incredible. And I think with that, we had a chance to talk to the voice of LAFC, the incredible, incomparable Max Bretos.
All right, when I learned who our guest was going to be on this week's show, I couldn't help but smile and say, yeah! He's one of the most familiar and trusted voices in American soccer broadcasting. He's currently a play-by-play announcer on Apple TV's MLS Season Pass and is also calling Club World Cup matches for Turner Sports. Over the years, he's worked extensively for ESPN, Fox Sports, and Sky Sports in the UK, including having hosted more than 1,000 episodes of ESPN's Sports Center. In addition, he served as the original voice of LAFC starting in their inaugural season in 2018. We are so honored to welcome the host of the Soccer OG podcast and a true trailblazer of American soccer media. We have Mr. Max Bretos. Max, welcome to Soccer in 60.
That was a 60-second intro, for crying out loud. That was amazing. Did you count those Sports Center shows? Holy smokes.
I can't say that I did, but I certainly remember a few of them. We won't necessarily bring any of those up.
You're up at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night. That was my shift. 2 a.m. 2 a.m.
on a Saturday night while I was in college, man. I was just coming back from the bar. So chances are I did see quite a few of those episodes.
It was a desirable position. People didn't want it, but the reality is on Saturday night, all the college football or all the sports from that day would be done, and that's what people would tune into. So, it was cumbersome, it was hard, but it was they had a lot of eyeballs.
A lot of eyeballs indeed. Max, again, it's good to see you, my man. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang with us. And no, you are not watching an episode of Defenders of the Bank. Well, we'll introduce him in just a moment because, yes, you know that guy too. But, Max, let's get into it because I know you got stuff to do. Before we dive into LAFC's match against Chelsea, let's quickly go back to the come from behind win over Club America that sealed the black and gold spot in the Club World Cup. You were on the call for that game. What did you think of LAFC's performance, and how did you experience the atmosphere at BMO Stadium that day?
Well, I put my glasses on. As Philly pointed out, it was the Mo Green specials. It was interesting because we had a really good conversation with Steve Cherundolo a couple days earlier. And we're like, hey, man, this is a big deal. I mean, how do you approach it? He goes, look, we have MLS and Liga MX teams playing all the time. And the teams like Club America, he goes, and he was spot on about this. He goes, what I have seen about them is they've really mastered the risk versus reward. They don't take the huge risks unless they know 100% that they are going to get a payoff of it. Yeah, which is nothing's guaranteed, but they don't put themselves in a position where they're going to, sabotage the game. And he goes, MLS teams are getting better at that. This is me saying this part, but they haven't quite mastered it. And it's hard when you don't have the finances or the roster build that these Mexican teams have. So you have to be creative. Once you are able to build a squad of 17, 18 guys, you can, take some risks here and there. You can be a little risky because you have some cover in the bench. So he goes, we're always trying to close the gap with the Mexican teams. And he said, I hope we can do it. And then I was watching that game and I was like, I had that idea that he put in my head. And I kept noticing it. I go, man, LAFC's been really disciplined. They're not making that silly pass where they can get countered on. They're not forcing the issue. They're being very patient. And all that was amazing. But then they get this opportunity, this situation pop up where the penalty arises. And even at that point, you're going, man, LAFC's played really well. They don't deserve to lose this. But if it happens, I'm thinking, I hope LAFC don't get criticized for this because they the game plan was right. They're not being outplayed. Club America has the better resources. So even down 1-0, I was like, LAFC deserves a lot of respect. Steve Cherundolo deserves a lot of respect for how they devised this game plan. They got a bad bounce, and now they're trailing. But then you add to the fact that they find a way, and they wore out Club America. That was it was unbelievable. Denny Buanga couldn't get through, and I remember there was one point where Club America threw at least 3 or 4 defenders on him, and at the end they couldn't do that, and then he was just running past the right back and whoever was there, and it was just a matter of time. So they put themselves in a position where they could exploit America, and they did. It was a beautiful performance. I think the game plan was right, and even though they trailed, they didn't deviate off of that, and they were able to find the results. So I just thought it was wonderful to watch. The atmosphere was amazing, and the Club America fans, obviously, if it was any other team, it wouldn't be the same. Even if it was Chivas, there's no team. Monterrey, we saw them in the Club World Cup, and there's no one that could create that with that block of Crema y Azul fans and so much fanfare inside the stadium, outside the stadium. So the atmosphere, I know you guys feel the same. You wish you could bottle it and just revisit it over and over again, but you have to realize that that's once in a blue moon. Hopefully not that long, but who knows when we have something like that in the stadium again.
Yeah, once in a blue moon indeed. If there's anything I would like to bottle is a pint of Las Aguilas' tears and drink that down happily. We clip those wings, baby. So obviously that puts us into a spot where we're in the FIFA Club World Cup. We have the game against Chelsea the other day. Now, there seems to be a widespread agreement that LAFC had a respectable showing that the team can build on, especially given the fact that Chelsea fielded a strong lineup and not, as some suspected, a B team. Unsurprisingly,
but you don't think that. But you don't think that by the way you're phrasing this question.
Well, we'll get to that one in just a second. But unsurprisingly, Max, like the black and gold were outpossessed, heavily outshot, no question about it. But they did have a fairly high pass completion rate at nearly 85%. Like, what did you see in that game? And would you agree that this was a promising display from LAFC?
I sure would. And I got to tell you, man, I looked at some of the national media, and it got me very frustrated. I saw something on CBS Sports Golazo, and it said something to the effect of Chelsea, no problems, or just complete whitewash LAFC. I'm like, what the? I go, what game did you watch? I know Chelsea was better, but at the beginning of the game, LAFC had that similar game plan. Don't make mistakes. They held it tight. But they were still being adventurous. They weren't parking the bus. They were going after it. I can only imagine Chelsea was impressed by the way LAFC played. And then they had good chances in the second half. Should have gotten a goal. I really believe. I actually spoke to Ante Razov today, and he was like, he said, we should have got a point or more. I go, really? He goes, you think you should have won it? He goes, I think we played well enough to do that. I go, well, I don't completely agree with that, but I still certainly feel they did well enough to get a point. And this Chelsea team might be the best team in this Club World Cup. We don't know. But they're loaded, and they can bring all these studs off the bench. So it was I thought it was really admirable. And I was hoping for a better response from the American soccer media about what LAFC did. And it was also, I feel like it was like par for the course. MLS team gets beaten. I go, no, it wasn't. Because I can tell you 10 years ago, when MLS teams, if they had a chance to play that game, they would have lost it by 5 or 6 goals without question. It would not have been a contest. This was a contest. And LAFC maybe they played a perfect game. I don't think they played a perfect game, but I think in many ways they played the game they wanted to play. But I was really impressed with it. I was, I was on the edge of I was in my living room walking around looking at, just my emotions overloaded. And then, but this is the thing is that people say that Chelsea ran through them, and then all they talk about is that there's like 22,000 people. I'm like, I just get fed up with that. It was really disappointing to see that this were the talking points. And I think our American soccer media has to be, a little bit more accepting of a big day like that, regardless of how many fans are there. Because there's a perfect example. There's my dogs here, by the way, with all these with what LAFC did. Because I guarantee you, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have seen a game like that. And that coupled with what the Sounders did and what Inter Miami did to a lesser degree shows I think MLS has grown. But LAFC is a top club, and I don't think people want to play them.
Well, hi, Max. It's good to talk to you, buddy.
Scarf.
10 minutes in, I promise I've been here the whole time. Look, the
9.
loss to Chelsea, somewhat expected, but now,
What did you
according
think
to
about that game, Scarf? What did you think about it?
Listen, not all 2-0 defeats are alike, right? That was
No.
a good 2-0 loss, and I think what LAFC did in that match is going to carry them through the next two matches that we're actually going to talk about. This match against ES Tunis coming up on Friday, and then Flamengo on Tuesday. Even one of the MLS pundits is saying that LAFC still has the best chance of any of the three clubs to move on.
That's crazy.
In the Club World Cup. What are your impressions of both teams so far? Because Flamengo played ES Tunis, beat them 2-0, same scoreline. And what do you think LAFC's chances are to actually get out of the group stage?
Well, the good news is they do have chances, and they're going to be favored to beat Esperance, ES Tunis. But they can't shortchange it. They can't come out anything less than the way they did against Chelsea, because that's going to be a huge occasion for ES Tunis as well, and they're going to play like that's their Super Bowl. So LAFC has to be mistake-free, take their chances, but they should be able to win that. And if they win that game, they're going to head to that final matchup against Flamengo with a chance to advance. I think Flamengo. I actually picked Flamengo to make the final of the Club World Cup. I think they're really good. They're really deep. I think I had Man City, Flamengo, or maybe it was Flamengo in the semifinals, but I think I have them going pretty far, and I think they could probably beat Chelsea. So I've been surprised by the bookmakers how Chelsea's far and away the favorite here. Flamengo's the second, and LAFC. It gives me a lot of comfort that a lot of people have them almost like as a coin flip to maybe make it out of the groups. I would have never thought that, but those bookmakers are right a lot of the time. So I'm curious to see how it looks, but I'll talk about Flamengo later, but they've got to come out, and I know they're going to be prepared. Steve Cherundolo and that coaching staff will have them prepared. Just come out. It's not going to be easy. You know, Esperance is good enough to beat them, so I just got to find a way to focus that. And then, honestly, if they headed the final match day with a chance to advance, to me that's enough. To me, that says they've done a wonderful job, hung with this Chelsea team, and I think the people said there's never been a competitive match by an MLS team against a Premier League team, and to do themselves pride. And if they get a win in this Club World Cup and head into that game, that's a win. But if you head into that final game with a chance, maybe a point would do it for you. It's very realistic. I mean, 4 points might be enough. Then, I haven't really put myself in that position to think of LAFC lining up in the round of 16. And it would be like, I guess, Bayern, Boca, or Benfica. But, I mean, dare to dream. It's not far-fetched, right?
Listen, LAFC already has the partnership with Bayern. Bring them on in the knockout rounds. Let's go. Let's do it. Look, we also, I don't know how to switch gears from one thing to the other, so I'm just going to ask you about this. We all know LAFC has the 3252 at their back everywhere that they go, and no more so, in my opinion, than what happened in the match against Sporting Kansas City, where the 3252 said everything by not saying anything at all for 90 minutes. And then right as the extra time was shown, LAFC started, or 3252 started chanting, "We are Los Angeles." I've said it's the proudest I've ever been as a supporter of LAFC because of the messages that were being sent. The front office supported them as well. How did you experience that statement by the 3252? And what are your thoughts on the significance of something like that?
Yeah, it was pretty powerful, and to be there when the place was silent just reinforced how important that they are. And when they popped with that, with that reaction at the end of the game, it was just so cathartic. So it just reminded me of all the moments you've shared with them, and I give them a lot of credit because I think the temptation, if that's the right word, to not show up that game, you could have excused anyone for not going up there. They could have felt uncomfortable with what's going on in Los Angeles, and if it was empty, you would not have been critical at all. You said to be expected. I mean, why would you? But the fact that they knew this was a moment to voice how they felt in the best possible way, with their, with as supporters, that it was it came off so much better than I think anyone could have imagined. I spoke to some of the guys from the 3252 afterwards, and just getting their thoughts about how this came about and how they had to seize this opportunity and how they encouraged everyone to show up. I think that's amazing because look, we all live in the city, and we all might have different thoughts about immigration and what's going on politically. But when you see the way it was handled, and you're in LA and you're seeing your neighbors and that them going through that, and you see your neighbors standing up for people that can't speak for themselves, I don't know how there's any other way to react other than be supportive of that. I mean, and honestly, look, I'm the kind of person when things get politically charged, it's in my best interest to kind of take a step back. But I didn't want to because I go, this is a moment where there's a million times where you can go on the sideline. I go, this is a moment you can't because you're involved. These people personally. They need a voice. They need, a bedrock. And I go, I mean, in whatever small way I was able to do that, I want to do that. And I was certainly inspired by what happened in the 3252. It was, I don't know if that was the desired result, but it was beautiful. And then you see how things haven't really been, how other places in LA have not really matched what they've done. I think history is going to be very fond on them, and I think it's gonna reflect very well off the club.
And there you see the interview. It got cut a little short. Max was literally sitting with all of his family, like right to his left as he was talking. You could see the screen door open in and out as some of his family members are going in and out. He had to take them to dinner, and the audio, it just became a hot mess. So we want to really appreciate Max Bretos for taking time literally now he was in Vegas, so life could be a lot harder for Max Bretos. He flew the private jet into Vegas. It was incredible. So we really want to thank Max Bretos for his time. Speaking of private jets and millionaires, I mean, how about the Empire Strikers' very own, Tim, part of that $1 million winning club, Bumpy Pitch FC, and honestly, right, author of some of the best moments of last season, Brandon Gomez being named to the best 7 of the TST, one of the Empire Strikers, the Inland Empire's indoor soccer team's very own, an incredible moment for Brandon Gomez.
Yeah, we had him on the show last week, right? We talked about it. We mentioned everything that was going on. He was having a great time with it. But it is a huge, huge honor to be part of this best 7 of the TST tournament because you've got guys that have played at the highest levels, Premier League guys. You've got coaches playing. You had people all the way from that have played from Wrexham to Bournemouth to Chelsea to Man City. All these guys, and Brandon Gomez, he goes out there and just crushes it, plays the tournament of his life, and now he's going to come back to the Strikers, and he is just going to be on such a high, JR. It was super fun to watch. It was super fun to have him on the show last week. And I think one of the cool things is that he's an Empire Striker.
And listen, I don't think we should sell ourselves short here, Tim. It's no secret that when you come on Soccer in 60, the next week, some really good things happen for you. Brandon Gomez comes on Soccer in 60 and then is part of the $1 million winning Bumpy Pitch FC. I'm saying there's causation and correlation there, Tim.
I would agree with you. Look at who we've had on the show. We've had Colin Shuttler. He came on right after he scored the golden goal, and the very first game last season, he goes on to lead the club all the way into the playoffs. We've had Tiernan on just a couple of weeks ago. We've had Mark Parsons on. You look at, and that's just some of the senior leadership of the teams that we cover. And then you talk about the players, full speed ahead, nothing like it. Come on, Soccer in 60, everybody.
And I may have jumped the gun. It was probably actually him winning the $1 million and then coming on Soccer in 60. But it was because he wanted to tell everybody what it was like to win that $1 million and be on the team. But either way, and I know I didn't call as many games as I would have liked last season, but Jeff Burham, I know you're listening, so maybe I'll get to call some more next year. But Brandon Gomez, one of the authors of several of fantastic highlights for the Empire Strikers. But Tim, a player who, pending league approval, we hope will be part of some highlights next season for the Empire Strikers. The rumor of signing Lucas Ramayo from Mesquite. So this could be a big signing for them.
This would be very big. He played well last year, was one of the leaders of the team. And for the Strikers to put him in, it is pending league approval. So we'll see how that goes over the next week or two, or as we move up into the season over the summer. But this would be a very big signing for the Strikers. It would shore up that midfield. And then you're really looking at a guy that can put the ball in the net too. I mean, if you look at some of the highlights that were posted on Instagram, the guy's got a great left foot and can go roof on guys. So it would be a big signing for the Strikers for this coming season.
Yeah, look, 10 goals, 9 assists in 53 previous MASL matches. And look, it's on Instagram. You guys go check it out. Jeff liked the post there on Instagram, on the Empire Strikers Instagram. But look, anytime you can add to the offensive arsenal, we already know, right, between Marco Fabian and Justin Stinson and a lot of the guys they brought in last year, there's already plenty of all-star talent on the Empire Strikers. And coming off of that TST win with so many of our players enjoying success there, it really can and I think will be a springboard to more success this next season. Of course, Coach Obasi is going to have these guys ready to go because, look, you've still got to go through the big two, right? You're not getting past those two big teams at the top. So if we can figure out a way. And then, Tim, you also had some cool intel on the LA Force, one of the NISA soccer teams out here, and our boys at the Empire Strikers.
Yeah, so I've connected with the guys over at the LA Force, and they have a big game this weekend. And some of the Striker players have been playing for the LA Force. And this weekend, they're second in their division, and they take on the number one team in the division this weekend. And they're going to be playing Sunday night at 7 o'clock down in San Clemente. So it's a little bit of a roadie, but it is at 987 Avenida Vista Hermosa in San Clemente. Again, it's 7 o'clock Sunday night, and it is the LA Force. So go check them out for some more great local soccer.
I love it. Anytime we get to watch our boys in action, really exciting. And now let's take a second for our friends at National Core. National Core, one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strikers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, go to nationalcore.org. Tim, I believe, as she is known, Nina K, no relation, to here to talk about all the ACFC goodness in this last week of Angel City Soccer.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, boys. It's been a minute since I've been on. I've been out traveling the world and, got called up for, we'll call it international duty. I don't know. With that, the first thing I want to talk about is the exciting news out of Angel City. And, JR, I know you're a huge Rose Lavelle fan, so you probably fixated on the fact that she got her call up. But 5 Angel City players also got nods. Alyssa Thompson for the U.S. along with Giselle Thompson. She's going back, hopefully no injury this time. And Angelina Anderson, all for the U.S. Miyabi Mariah going for Japan alongside Hannah Stombaugh. So very exciting Angel City news to kick it off.
Yeah,
that's
someone's got to tell you. Yeah, someone's got to tell you that Nashville is not international duty, but that's okay.
I also went to Indiana, okay?
There you go. Look, it's great to hear these fantastic women getting called into their national teams. What we want to talk more about here on Soccer in 60 that we haven't talked about enough is them holding a lead or holding a result into and out of stoppage time until that final whistle. More heartbreak for ACFC.
We actually don't want to talk about that, but thanks. We really are tired of it. I've seen everywhere, first minute, last minute, because of course, against NC Courage, their goal came in the first minute. I couldn't even get the TV turned on in time to catch that first goal. And then in the 90th +5, the final goal, Tiernan, thank God for Tiernan, because she was able to score a tying goal in the 11th. So you spent most of the game at a 1-1 draw, which I think actually speaks really well. And we can't forget that these girls are also working on a new coaching style and working on new systems and formations, which is an awkward thing to do mid-season. Strauss has come in and he has said he's more control and possession based. He wants to play higher up the field, and you see them doing that. I think if we go back into games past, a lot of the time Angel City was happy to give up possession. And now they're in this last game, 54%. It's not exactly dominating, but I give it to them.
Yeah, but it's far more than they had previously. And so you look at that, and I believe what Alex is doing and what the team has already responded to in just the 2 matches under his tutelage is really taken to it. And you can tell that the players, I don't know, it just seems, are they a little bit happier? Are they a little bit more liking the system because they've got somebody that's in control now? They have somebody that's in charge versus waiting the 3 months for that person to show up.
Yeah, it's hard because when you play higher up the field, you do set yourself up for the counter. But, we've got Sarah Gordon on the back line. We've got some really strong defensive players. In general, I think this boasts well to their playing style. Like, I think the Thompson sisters specifically and Riley Tiernan really thrive in that quick, fast-paced, flick it on, let's go, run it, goal type of style. So I'm excited to see how once everyone else gets to that pace, it continues to develop. It's a very regimented, and you need to be disciplined because you don't want to get caught in that counter, but we're seeing it slowly come together, and it didn't feel bad. Like, you were saying earlier, not all 2-0 losses are the same. First minute, last minute.
Listen, here's what I will say. Angel City had a chance to pick on 2 of the bottom feeders of the league in these last 2 matches, and they left a lot of points out there. Kind of a bummer, but you mentioned transitioning into a new coach with Strauss coming in, what you'd at least hope to see, and what we have certainly seen with Angel City, are the big names continuing to play well, not necessarily because of the coaching change or in spite of the coaching change, but during both of these regimes. To put it very simply, Riley Tiernan is who we thought she was. The Thompson sisters are incredible. Kennedy Fuller is still Kennedy Fuller. The young kids are still playing. Wait a minute. That means we're not talking about Kristen
Jurgen
Press.
Strauss is here and she's still not starting. So what does that say for this team? I think it says what we've said before. It's not about not wanting her on the team. Like, let's be real. And let's also remember very clearly here to everyone who's going to come into the comment section after this, we are 3 voices. We are 3 independent voices. We do not stand for, represent, or have opinions that we are expressing on behalf of anyone else. I, Nina, speak for Nina. Nina thinks that Kristen Press isn't a starter. Like, it's, if you told me Olivier Giroud was starting, I would go, why? And I'm sorry, he's freaking fantastic. Now, also, loved that he stood on the sideline with his shirt off for 4 minutes. That was fantastic as well. Like, I just don't think Press is a starter. I think she's a fantastic super sub, and that comes from her soccer IQ and her adaptability. She is great at coming onto the pitch, reading what needs to be done, and getting everyone there, and I love it.
Yeah, and I'm with you there, Nina. This is the voice of seeing her play for years, watching the U.S. national team, watching her play at the professional level. She's not a 90-minute person anymore. She can't go out there. And the coaching staff is right to bring her on at the 55th minute, the 60th minute, because she said it herself. She goes, I love coming into a 1-1 game with 30 minutes left because she can go out and run her guts out for 30 plus stoppage, and then she can go rest for a week.
Yeah.
She can't. Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, and she said it herself. So to be able to have her come in, say that out loud, and then have the team respond to it, I think it's perfect. I think I don't know if she'll start again this season because I don't think they need her to or want her.
She might not. And, it's going to happen, or I'm not worried about it. We're going to play her in the best way. But I don't want to run out of time because I do want to talk. We've talked briefly, and you guys alluded to all of the statements that are being made throughout LA and throughout the professional sports teams. I feel like Angel City went big. They did not just, it wasn't just a fan-driven moment. Angel City has actively put out a statement and produced shirts to back it up. So I want to give a moment to actually read what they wrote because it's short. So they had this whole thing at the last match for Immigrant City Football Club. It says, at Angel City, we believe in the power of belonging. We know that Los Angeles is stronger because of its diversity and the people and the families who shape it, love it, and call it home. The fabric of the city is made of immigrants. Football does not exist without immigrants. This club does not exist without immigrants. This is our home. This is LA. This is Immigrant City.
Yeah, I mean, look, the one thing you cannot deny, no matter what, is that Los Angeles is a tapestry woven by people of all backgrounds and colors. And I know this has been a really difficult time for a lot of people in Los Angeles. And look, some people feel a certain way about clubs coming out and saying something. And in my humble opinion, right, soccer is the sport. It's the global sport. It's the world's game. So I think all opinions can be shared when it comes to talking about things in the vein of soccer, because if you look at any soccer pitch, I don't care if it's down in Orange County or if it's over in Colombia or wherever we're watching soccer, you are going to see people of all colors, all shapes, all sizes, all backgrounds, all ethnicities. And that's what's so beautiful about Angel City coming out and saying what they said, is that it didn't just make it also, by the way, about everything that's going on with these last unfortunate week and a half in Los Angeles, but it shed light on the fact that it is a city full of immigrants, and that is what makes this city so special.
Absolutely. And with that, let's talk about the upcoming game, because, they're playing again in what will be a one day. On June 20th, Angel City is taking on the first place Kansas City Current. This is not good, boys. If we are in our learning moments, I don't like it, but I do love the confidence boost that it will give us when we tie or win.
You had 90 minutes of learning moments against the lowly Chicago Stars. You had 90 more minutes of learning moments against, I got to mention her once, Tyler Lucy and the North Carolina Courage, which is, by the way, the reason why they scored that second goal was a block by Tyler Lucy. Just saying, that's my favorite Angel City player of all time. And now you get the big ones up at the top. 28 goals in 12 matches, 10 wins on the season. Knock, knock, knocking at the door. Come the Kansas City Current. Have fun.
Yeah, I'm not excited to see Coenga. I am not happy or looking forward to this. I am trying not to be nervous, because I know there's one thing this team can do, and that's not psych themselves out. They have a very strong mental game. They don't get in their heads. They just see the opponent and they go for it. They play their match. So, we'll see what happens. I'm still retaining hope, and hopefully next week I'm not sitting here crying.
Yeah, and I hope that too, Nina. I hope they go out and they play their game and not have to buckle against the number one team in the league.
Yeah, and again, Nina, thank you so much for coming on, talking all things Angel City. We appreciate you. Look, I feel terribly that our producer Gunnar has made Tim wait the entire episode to talk about this match for Orange County Soccer Club. We'll get Nina back on for Best 11, don't worry. But Tim, I mean, El Paso Locomotive, one of the best teams in USL, and Orange County Soccer Club said, new hair, don't care, let's go.
Yeah, full speed ahead. They are off the schneid. They've been playing well over the past few weeks, but a lot of firsts this week. First clean sheet, first road win, first brace of the season for Ethan Zubak. We could go on and on and on, but I tell you what, they came out in what was said a 4-4-2 lineup, and they didn't play that at all. They played a 4-4-1-1, which was epic. The additional high attacking player really pushed El Paso out of their comfort zone. You could see the first 30 minutes, the Locomotive were playing well. They got a couple of really nice shots on goal, but Shuttler knocked them down, took care of it. And then after that, there's about a 10-minute span towards the end of the first half where they just lit El Paso on fire. And I got to tell you something, Scarf. My opinion, this is Mr. Tim Colott speaking. Own goals should be stricken, I say, from the laws, from the rule book, from the score sheet. There is no way that ball by Cameron Dunbar, which scores the second goal, is not a goal for Cameron Dunbar. So, Cameron, Mr. Dunbar, you got a goal on my score sheet there, buddy.
Look, it looked like it was headed in either way. But by the way, put a little mustard on that ball, Cameron. But let's talk about how big that win was, because it did not happen down in Orange County. They went into the belly of the beast. How about the first league loss at home for the Locomotive as well? Look, I got to ask you, though, this still looked like, at least on the score sheet, on the stat sheet, on the back of their tops card, it still looked like a lot of the same offensive, frustrating results by Orange County Soccer Club. If you take those 10 minutes out, and right before that, right, Zubac had one called offside. He could have had a hat trick, could have had one more. But I don't know how much they did outside of those incredible 10 minutes. What are your thoughts? I mean, you watch this club more than anybody else. Do they still have a way to go on offense?
Well, they still got a way to go on offense. You know, Zubac had missed a few games. You've got Mohamedou War coming off the bench still. You got Cameron Dunbar had a little knock earlier in the season. I think what they really need to do is just keep continuing to improve, keep listening to what's coming out of Danny Stone's mouth, Coach Stone's mouth, and really, truly continue to embrace what he is teaching these guys. Because you've got a lot of guys, a lot of these guys are 20, 22, 24 years old. They've still got a lot of soccer knowledge to inherit, embrace. And Coach Stone is that voice. So I think one of the things that you're going to see a lot more of the defense kind of solidify. And once that defense solidifies down the left side, in this game, they weren't getting burned as badly because the left wing would come down. And they'd have some space, but what would happen is that center back would come in and pinch them off, and then by that time the backtrack would come down. So I think once they solidify that defense and keep it out of the box, the offense is going to play in kind. So I think they're going to be just fine.
And the bummer is they don't have a match next week to build on this one. They got a little bit of time off, which I know is kind of a bummer for Orange County. What is never a bummer on this show is the most heated segment on Soccer in 60, the best 11. And for that, we bring back Nina Kiefer. And I mean, you don't have to squint or look too hard to see all the members of Tim's boys down in Orange County. The Orange County Soccer Club is littering this list of best 11. I don't know, despite LAFC playing Chelsea and the Galaxy putting up 3 goals, Angel City putting up a good effort. Lots of Orange County Soccer Club out there. Goalkeeper Colin Schuttler, Nico Ben Alcazar, Vuk Latinovic, and Ryan Dogman, the defenders, and all Orange County Soccer Club backline there. Your midfielders, Ethan Zubac, Cameron Dunbar, and Kyle Scott. This is not on repeat of Orange County Soccer Club once again, along with Marco Royce of the Galaxy. And at forward, straight off his brace, Gabriel Peck, Mateus Nascimento, and Julie Dufour. I mean, as the resident LAFC guy in the room, can I just ask what we have to do to get a player on this list? We played Chelsea to an incredible standstill for most of that match. And down in the little tiny fine print over there in super subs, we get a Timothy Tillman, I think, right, who played his best match of the season. Tim, you must be loving life right now, bud.
I am. This one is fantastic. Just littered with Orange County guys. And every one of these guys has played very well this season. And this last match was truly a team effort. I mean, we talked about the 3-0 scoreline, and they all came within 10 minutes of each other. But the reality was the defense really held these guys firm. So I mentioned it, that they would get long balls down the left-hand side. They'd have a couple of guys on them. When there was a shot on frame, Colin Schuttler had a wide open look at it. So there was no really difficult saves the entire game for Colin Schuttler. And just to see Cameron Dunbar, Kyle Scott, Dogman on this list, it just makes me happy.
I'm jealous. Like, I don't know. I'm with JR. What does it take for me to get a little love here for Angel City? I mean, I will say, Julie Dufour had 7 chances created. Now, I do these graphics for us every week, and I will tell you, 7 is double what I'm normally writing. I'm like, 3 chances created, 4 chances created. That's kind of our peak. She had 7, but I still think Riley Tiernan was snubbed. I'm sorry. She scored a goal in the 11th minute. She's on her golden boot race. She's playing fantastic. I feel like she got snubbed by Galaxy.
We've got a young kid in the middle of our midfield who the world is going to know as a superstar, and that is Igor Jesus. And Igor Jesus, all he did the entire match was go up against a player like Cole Palmer, go up against a player. I'm blanking on, oh my God, the Ecuadorian Moises Caicedo goes up against Moises Caicedo, goes up against Enzo Hernandez, and holds his own as a young kid. You have got to be kidding me that Igor Jesus doesn't get the love from the best 11 on Soccer in 60. That's a lot of midfielders from Orange County. I got to ask you, Tim, why Kyle Scott over, let's say, Igor Jesus?
I think a lot of it. So Igor played an amazing game. I'm not going to lie. I think the fact of the matter is that Kyle Scott just played a little bit stronger. I think he was putting the hurt on Moreno, and you're going to hear another name that's going to pop up here over the next couple of weeks. A kid named Nicola Ciata from Orange County. He's an academy player that just got signed recently. You're going to hear him. So Kyle Scott over Igor, absolutely this week.
Listen, all I got to say is El Paso Locomotive is not Chelsea, but that's okay. We can discuss that for another time here on LA's Best 11. Nina, thank you for coming back with us on this incredible segment, which was actually just Tim's Best 11 tonight, but that's okay. Love it. An absolutely incredible episode once again of Soccer in 60, of course, brought to you by SAC Health System. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, however you are listening to it. Stop what you're doing right after this. Hit that little bell button, hit a subscribe button. All the cool kids know what the buttons look like. Find the button, or find your young sibling or son or daughter or whoever.
Find a cool kid.
Subscribe to the podcast. We got to go. This has been Soccer in 60 by SAC Health System.